Everyone good?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, so since you're both the VPs, this might be a bit of like a refresh for you, but I still think it's a good thing for you guys to be here for. So basically, this is the agenda. We'll do a quick check-in. We'll talk about what the SDGs are, what is Youth for Global Goals, the target and indicators of the SDGs, what fulfilling JDs look like, selling the 4.7 national project, Legalities Recap once again, and then how to follow up with leads, and then lastly we'll end with Q&A. So if at any point either of you leave, let me know, because there's only 2 of you, and I don't, like, if I'm just sitting here talking to myself, that'll be awkward, so let me know. So we can do a quick check-in. It's just Alejandra and Natalie here, so how are you guys doing?
Good, just a little stressed about a midterm tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. What midterm do you have?
A poli-sci midterm.
Oof, okay.
Yeah.
Well, good luck. You
Thanks.
are almost on spring break, or no?
Yeah, pretty close.
Okay, nice. What about you, Alejandra? How are you doing?
Doing good. Also a lot of projects and midterms going on. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, good luck. I hope that you're able to manage it all. I know that this month is kind of crazy for everyone. Okay, well, I'm also doing well. I had a work from home day, which was nice, but I got a lot done. There's leaks in my ceiling, but it's okay. They'll be figured out. But yeah, I'm glad that you guys are here. So what I want to talk about first is, what are the SDGs? Does someone want to read this for me? Okay, I will read it. Oh, who offered?
Me.
Alejandra. Okay, go ahead. You can read it.
The Sustainable Development Goals, otherwise known as Global Goals, are a universal call to action to end poverty, to protect the planet, and ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity. These 17 goals build on the successes of of the Millennium Development Goals, including new areas such as climate change, economic inequality, innovation, sustainable consumption, peace and justice, among other priorities. The goals are interconnected, often the key to success, and one will involve tackling issues more commonly associated with another. UN member states will be expected to use the SDGs, their targets, and indicators to frame their agendas and political policies until 2030.
So this is just a recap, because I think that maybe like we have like a general understanding of what the SDGs are, but it's important that like we bring these up like within the first sales meeting that we have, because this is a part of the definition of what like a global volunteer is. By like having volunteers come to like someone's camp, then they are therefore enabling that young person to work towards the fulfillment of the SDGs, and so they're enabling like basically the fulfillment of the SDG within like their community. So it's important that we understand these and that we're able to explain these to the partners that we work with. And what I would suggest, since it's just VPs here, I would bring this up with your members and see if they're able to like accurately describe what the SDGs are, because if they're not, then you might want to cover this output. Like you want to cover this output with them anyways, but it might be important to have just like an FTM or something where you talk about what the SDGs are, so they can fully understand them and communicate them with a camp. So let's watch a quick video. Have you guys seen this video before?
I haven't.
Okay, so this is the old PAI. So basically she's explaining what Youth for Global Goals is. So let me know if the audio is fine for you guys. Oops.
The Sustainable Development Goals are by far the greatest goals that as humankind we have set together. It is very rare that 193 countries sit together and find a common goal. And this historic moment happened in last September during 2015.
It is so decided.
This is exactly the kind of things that we should do together as humankind in order to move human race forward. This is not going to happen together just because we set goals. Goals, it's only the first step in order to change the world. And this ambition needs to be achieved by concrete actions. And this action needs to be led by young people that in the future will become the future leaders for the world. That's precisely what ISEC aims to do. ISEC is a unique organization the world's largest youth-led organization that has a tremendous belief that youth leadership is the key to unlock the potential that we have to achieve these sustainable development goals. And this is why we have done since 1948 many efforts to send a lot of young people on exchange for them to discover the world, to discover themselves, and then in this way they can change the world and change themselves into the best version that we can. Now the challenge is even bigger. We have a deadline. We have until the year 2030 to ensure that these 17 goals are a reality. And in ISEC we are specialized to form the leaders that are needed in order to get this done. And that's where we need every single one of every partner that we have around the world to sit with ISEC and see how can we best involve young leaders towards making this a reality. And so we introduce to you the Year of Youth for Global Goals.
Cool. So I suggest that you guys check out that website after this. But basically, like, have you guys heard of Youth for Global Goals before? If not, it's okay. Basically, if you ever hear the acronym like Y4GG, that's the same thing. Was someone gonna speak up?
I was just gonna say, like, I saw the the promotion of the logo somewhere, like in ISEC and Sustainable Development Goals, like it didn't really saw the beauty of it.
Okay. Cool. So basically, it can be summed up as the ISEC initiative to activate youth towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. So it's basically like ISEC's way of actually acting towards the fulfillment of the global goals. And each of these goals, as you guys know, there's 17 of them. Each of them have targets and indicators. So the targets are, there's 169 of them, and they accompany the 17 goals and set out quantitative and qualitative objectives for until 2030. These targets are global in nature and universally applicable, taking into account different national realities, capacities, and level of development, and respecting national policies and priorities. And the indicators are the KPIs that the fulfillment of the SDGs can be measured against. So they're defined by the Interagency and Expert Group on SDG Indicators that was formed by the UN Statistical Commission. So it's important that, like, not only do we assume that, like, the projects that we have are actually working towards the fulfillment of these goals, we have to actually measure that, and the indicators allow us to do that. So this is what it would look like on XBUS. So you'll see on the left, like, when you're putting up an opportunity, you get to choose one of the 17 goals. So in our case, I use the example of a national project. So we always choose quality education unless you open a different kind of project. And the target that we work with is target 4.7. So it's literally like, if you count down, then it's the 7th. So it's 4.7, which is by 2030, ensure that all learners acquire the knowledge and skills needed to promote sustainable development, including, among others, through education for sustainable development and sustainable lifestyles, human rights, gender equality, promotion of a culture of peace and nonviolence, global citizenship, and appreciation of cultural diversity and of culture's contribution to sustainable development. So this one is kind of broad in the sense that, like, it entails a lot of things, and that's why it kind of fits for us to sell this to camps. I'll explain this a bit more. But the specific indicators that we use to actually measure our contribution as ISEC US to this SDG and to this target are the number of trainings on the SDGs and global citizenship, as well as the number of youth and children educated on the SDGs and global citizenship. So as long as you are selling the national project that we have, then you would, like, align with these specific targets and indicators. So if at any point you guys have questions, let me know. But what I've showed you guys, I think in the on our network call, I think Natalie wasn't there, is this JD. Actually, excuse me, it's a JQ. But basically, it's for a lifeguard position. And as you can see, the main activities of it are to open the pool each day and close it when the aquatic activities are over, to comply with all the guidelines learned and demanded as lifeguard, to ensure the safety and well-being of campers and staff members during pool activities, and to make sure campers and staff members are following pool rules to prevent accidents. So hopefully something that you notice when looking at this JQ is that it's not really an ISEC exchange, right? How does this ensure that the EP will have a challenging leadership developing experience that works towards the fulfillment of the SDGs? Because this is, like, I've been getting some JQs lately that are not totally aligned with an ISEC exchange. And so I just want to make sure that, like, we do align what we're selling to partners with what we actually are supposed to be selling. And so how can we ensure that we're opening opportunities that will challenge and develop our EPs into youth leaders who work towards the fulfillment of the SDGs? the answer is by selling our national project. So, Alejandro, you've already seen this, but Natalie, like, this is what we covered in our last call, and basically, this project will allow us to make sure that we're actually aligned with like what a GV is, that we're on track to actually like contribute to the SDG, to SDG4 specifically. And so right now it doesn't have a name. If you guys can think of one, I would love to name it something. I don't know if you know, last semester we had a project called Love Your Leftovers that was related to responsible consumption and production. So that one had a really cute name, and it made it easier to like bring up the project. And for now, I don't have a name for it. I cannot think of one that's related to like camps and education. So if you guys can think of one, please let me know. If you want to ask your members too, maybe like they would think it's cool to name the national project, then please ask them. But it needs a name, and if you guys can think of one, I will happily take it into consideration. But basically, the project is about, as I mentioned, quality education, and this is like what the camps see if you send them the booklet. So basically, volunteers will deliver workshops based on the SDGs, and each week they'll have a different focus. So the camp can choose like what SDGs they want the individual to teach about, and this content, of what to teach about each SDG already exists. So it's not like we have to come up with it, or like the camp, or like the actual volunteer. Like, of course, they should still prepare and familiarize themselves with the content, but they don't have to create it. And then, of course, they can also engage in other volunteer-based activities in the camp. So this should be the core of the project, but it doesn't have to be the only thing that they do. And so then the rest of the paragraph here just states like the specific target, and then at the end you actually see the indicators. So we want to, like, at the end of the exchange, give the camp an impact report that says, like, with in your collaboration with ISEC, you have delivered like 100 trainings on sustainable development and global citizenship, and provided like 500 youth and children education on the SDGs. So the idea is to like let them know how much they're contributing to the SDGs as well. Any questions so far?
No, not for me.
Okay, cool. And then another really awesome benefit of selling the national project is that it avoids legal issues. So why does it avoid legal issues? Because as you guys know probably, we cannot be replacing, right here, we cannot be replacing paid employees. And I can almost guarantee you that no one in any camp right now is probably like being paid to teach about the SDGs. So if you supply them with, if it's a nonprofit, like a volunteer, or if it's a for-profit, an unpaid intern, regardless, like if you have the core of the project be selling, or excuse me, be teaching the SDGs, then you're going to avoid this altogether. But just like a quick recap of legalities in general, basically if it's a for-profit organization, then we actually sell like the EP as an unpaid intern versus a volunteer. And you have to send them the Department of Labor fact sheet so that they understand like the different standards they have to meet in order to make sure it's actually considered an unpaid internship. And then if it's a nonprofit, you can still use the language of volunteer. But regardless of it being a nonprofit or for-profit, the EPs cannot replace paid employees or do the same work as paid employees. So if you ever like have questions from your members, I think this infographic pretty much sums it up as simply as possible. So do you guys have any questions about legality still? Because I know last week when Alejandra's members came in, they still had some questions about it. So, okay, I'll assume no. And then this is the Department of Labor fact sheet that I always bring up. Basically, like, you need to make sure that they read over these 6 standards at the bottom. I won't go through each of them right now because we've covered it before, but basically, like, the biggest things is that, like, they have to have some type of training, and they can't be displacing employees. So, hopefully, someone's audio is very loud. I don't know who it is. How many times should you guys follow up with a lead before giving up? How many do you remember from Rocks? I couldn't hear whoever that was.
I think that was one of my members. That was Brian.
Ah, okay. So basically, the idea is to follow up with a lead multiple times. I think that, like, on average, it's about 4 to 10. So I would just go with 7 times. So before giving up with a lead, contact them 7 times. Follow up with them like every 48 hours. That's a weekday. because as you guys know, camps are super slow and not always the best at checking their email. So you should be following up with them 7 times before you consider them a dead lead. And also, like, don't only email them, like, do a combination of calling and emailing them because everyone's different. People respond to some form of communication more than others. So that's my suggestion. That's kind of like the golden rule, I would say, for following up with leads, because I think that a lot of people are saying they're running out of leads, but in reality, we should be contacting them 7 times before we consider them like a done deal. And then, of course, we have the tools Boomerang and HubSpot. Do you guys have these already on your computers? Do you know how to use them? Or I should say on your Chrome extensions.
Yeah. The other thing, I'm just getting something. It's just HubSpot only allows you to like send 200 emails per month. Like after 200 emails, you can see like if they saw the email or not.
Like you can only track 200 emails.
Yes.
But is there a limit on how many log?
No.
Okay. So I think the logging is what's more important. But yeah, the tracking of course is nice, but if there's a limit for it, like I think you'd have to pay for it.
Yeah.
And the logging is what's actually, in my opinion, more important because like you can go back and check like all the interactions that you've had with leads. And like if you are contacting that many people a month, like you're probably not remembering every single conversation you had with them. And so the fact that it's logged there in HubSpot helps you go back and like refresh whatever you guys had talked about before. And then Boomerang is also like a really great way to make sure that you're following up with your leads like every 48 hours. So if you guys don't have either of those extensions, I would definitely suggest that you get them.
And also for HubSpot, it only tracks if you send it directly to them. Because I've been BCCing people, and I can only see when I open myself. But I can't see if they open it. So I BCC them instead of sending it directly to them.
So that's something that I would also suggest you don't do, is that I would actually suggest that you follow up with like people individually. When you BCC someone, it kind of like looks like spam sometimes because you're trying to contact so many people at once. And also it's more personal when you address like whoever you're specifically trying to reach out to. So I would suggest that you actually don't BCC people. I know it's a bit more time consuming, but they're probably more likely to respond when they see that it's not a BCC. So something I wanted to ask you guys was, do you want, like, I know that people seem to be more user-friendly with, like, spreadsheets. So do you guys want a tab for following up with leads in your LC tracker? Because there's one that I've drafted and I can put in there if you guys want to play around with it. But you would have to, like, manually go in and say, like, for each lead, like, I contacted this person the first time, the second time, the third time. And so, like, you can just, like, keep track on the trackers, like the LC trackers, how often you're following up with leads. But this can be like, some LCs can do it, some LCs cannot, or if you all don't want it, then we don't have to do it. But if you are interested, let me know, and then I can add it to your LC tracker.
I actually created one for my members.
Okay. Okay, that's awesome.
The number of email, like the organization to email, and like times the email or call them.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's perfect. Then if you already have it, then that's
too.
Okay. So perfect. I can check those out too then and see, are they like working well for you so far, or do you need anything fixed, or are they fine?
I mean, I think right now some of my members are using it, some are they're not, some they're calling. So I think it's just a matter of like getting all of them to like use it.
Okay. So what I would suggest is like creating a routine for how you, like when you email a lead, what do you immediately do right after? Like even when you're emailing the lead, making sure that you're clicking the log and track buttons on HubSpot, making sure that you boomerang it to the top of your inbox in 48 hours if they don't respond, making sure that you fill out that tab in the tracker saying that I contacted this person like for the first time and the method was over email. So I would suggest like you create a routine of like what should happen every time a lead is contacted so that you make sure that you're keeping track of them as best as possible. So I know this was a bit shorter than maybe expected, but that's all I actually had. I know that some of this is a refresh for the VPs. I'm not sure who joined the call afterwards, but basically we covered like what the sustainable development goals were and ISEC's involvement with them through Youth for Global Goals. So does anyone have questions about anything we covered, or just anything in general, even if we didn't cover it, I can answer it.
I'm pretty much good.
Okay. Yeah, you can go if you need to, Natalie.
Okay.
Good luck with your midterm.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, talk to you later.
Bye.
Only goes to for-profit camps.
I'm sorry?
The DOL sheet that only goes to for-profit camps.
Yeah, so that's just for when you're working with for-profits. If you're working with a nonprofit, they just need to understand that they also cannot be using our volunteers to replace any paid employees.
That's just a verbal agreement?
Yeah, you just have to like verbally state that with them. It's also, I just added it to the sales booklet. There's a whole page on legalities. So if you send them that, then like they shouldn't have any, like they should be like aware that that's a thing, but they probably know it as it is, but you should still verbally state it with them, or you can even say it over email.
Okay.
Yeah. I also added that slide on our folder, Brian. So in the booklet that we have in our folder, it should be there, the legalities for.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, like as of last week, I updated the booklets that are in the hub, and all the legalities is on there. So like you can use that to like set proper expectations with for-profits and nonprofits. Any other questions?
Is there something you have to sign in that, on paper?
I'm sorry?
Is there something to sign on that paper, or is it just something to read?
Yeah, I've actually asked our lawyers if like we need to include it in our like agreements, and they say that we don't need to. So it's nothing that they sign, but just like as long as you like can confirm that you told them about it, then it's fine. Like if you tell them about it, they're not gonna like go against your word and like do it illegally. Like as long as they're aware of it, it should be fine. So
Okay, thank you.
yeah, sure. Anything else?
I think that was it.
Okay. Okay. Who was all on the call? Is it just New York City people?
Yeah, Brian was in my team. He's my own member.
Okay. Is it just you and him on the call right now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Do you have any other questions, Brian?
No, that's it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming. That output will be up on like the hub or something, or on YouTube for sure. I recorded this, so you guys can refer back to it if you need to. Alejandra, I would suggest you cover this with any members who didn't attend, especially like the SDG stuff and the Youth for Global Goals, just making sure that they understand what those are.
Cool.
Cool. All right. Thank you guys.
For you right now, because like I want to ask you something, but like not.
Yeah. Let me stop the recording.
Bye.